Hey there, my name is Reggie. I'm founder of myhopeandmarriage.com and Pursuing the Truth Ministries. Pursuing the Truth Ministries is a Christian ministry dedicated to promoting the truths of the Christian faith. And My Hope in Marriage is just not an offshoot of specifically, but it is a section of Pursuing the Truth Ministries that I decided to pull to be on its own, and that's the subject of marriage. And what I'd like to do in this video is just to discuss a post that I made called How a Wife Can Cause Her Husband to Be Happy with Her. Okay, now there's a distinction. I read an article where it was talking about how a wife can make her husband happy, but you really shouldn't rely on anyone to make you happy. Yeah, people will make you happy. People can make you feel good, so forth and so on. But only you are really responsible for your own happiness. You have to do what you need to do to be happy. Of course, legally, and remember, we're talking from a Christian perspective. All right, I'll be real happy if I just knocked him in the head. No. We want to use some wisdom here, okay? All right, so that's why I said how a wife can cause her husband to be happy with her, okay? Because we can be unhappy about people. I can be unhappy on my job. I can be unhappy with the car that I purchased. I can be unhappy with furniture. You get it home and it just doesn't look right. I can be unhappy about many things. You can be unhappy with your spouse. You can be unhappy, like I said, with many things. So what can a wife do? What can a woman do that would create an environment that would cause her husband to be happy with her? Now, I want to just briefly go over the points that I've made. So, in case I want to elaborate on something, but I definitely want to. The first thing that I wrote in the article is remember that he's human. Now, I've talked to people many times, mostly by email through Pursuing the Truth Ministries, and people would write in about their spouse or whatnot. Or I like to go on different boards, forums, and so forth, and contribute. And one thing that it seems odd, or it seems kind of strange, is that people don't seem to realize that your spouse is a human being. Right? For example, one of the things that we humans like to do is blame somebody for what happens to us. My marriage is bad, so if she would just do this, then everything would be golden, or if he would just do this and everything would be okay. Well, one thing that you have to realize is that your spouse is human. So what you might consider bad behavior or contributing or being a problem could simply be, partially at least, a response to what you are doing. That's what humans do. If someone's nice to you, you tend to reciprocate that niceness. All right. If someone is mean to you, you tend to be, avoiding them, want to avoid them, or you tend to be uninhibited, or at least less inhibited, of being short or mean to them. Okay, right? That's what we humans do. So if your husband or your wife, or if your spouse has an issue, or you're like, it's if you would do this and you would do that, then you got a problem, blah blah blah. Remember, he or she may be responding over the years or months to what you've been doing. All right? And it's like I say many times, both contribute to the state of the marriage. All right? Both contribute. The husband and the wife contribute to the state of the marriage. If the marriage is good, they both contributed to it. If the marriage is bad, they both contributed to it. All right, in most cases. In some cases, you have people that are just mean, evil, ulterior motive coming in, and they never intended to have a marriage, real marriage. But that's I'm not talking about. I'm talking about two people who come together. Typically, you're in love, you get married, and then all of a sudden, after maybe a couple months or so, problems start coming up. All right, and that's why I tell people you need to educate yourself about marriage, especially educate yourself about your spouse. Don't just assume that your spouse is like you. Don't just assume that you know what he or she wants or what he or she is going to respond to. A big thing is what I call love, my wife may not call it. Matter of fact, I know what my wife calls love. Carla, what she calls love, to me, is not love. It's something else. What I call love is definitely not what she calls love. All right? Some people, love is just an emotion. To other people, love is a state of mind, whatever the case may be. And then you have different people, we human beings tend to receive and give differently. And when you talk about men and women, men may give and receive or perceive love differently than a woman may. Men tend to use sex as a carrier. I like to call it a carrier signal. Where, for example, if a wife doesn't have sex with her husband, or if she refuses, barring a medical issue or something like that, then as far as he's going to be concerned, she really doesn't love me, And a man tends to express his affection towards his wife sexually. All right, women tend to receive that perhaps from an emotional standpoint. All right, standpoint. All right, so that's one thing. Remember that your spouse is human. And if you would consider that, you would say, well, maybe, why is he doing that? Why does he leave what's a good one? Why does he leave his dirty clothes on the floor? Maybe he doesn't know any better. Maybe that's how he grew up. Maybe that's what he saw in his house, Sit down and talk with him. Okay? All right? All right. Now, another thing that I wrote, recognize that men are different than women. Of course. Men tend to be different. We tend to perceive and we tend to have a different way of looking at things than women. What is the saying? Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. No, you're both from Earth. Forget about that. You're both from Earth. You just have different ways of looking at things because God wired us differently in general. All right. However, I'm going to tell you something. However, people want the same thing. Everybody wants to be accepted. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to have meaning to their life and so forth and so on. It's just that how we see those things and how we express them is different between a man and a woman. All right? All right. So remember that men and women are different. So what you do to show your husband that you love him may not be on his channel. He may see what you're doing and maybe even appreciate it, but he's not receiving that as, hey, she loves me. You got to understand that kind of stuff, and vice versa to her. For example, the general or the common illustration that's given is a guy who works from 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and he brings all this money home, and the wife is unhappy. And finally it explodes, and he's like, what? And she's like, well, I'm just so unhappy. He said, what do you mean? I don't love you. You don't seem to love me. You don't want to be with me. What are you talking about? I work long hours so I can bring all this money home to make you happy and get all the stuff you want. And she's like, well, I just want you. How have you heard that example? So you got to understand people are different. And if you understand that, you'll be more conscious of trying to understand things from that person's perspective. In other words, put yourself in their shoes. It also goes on to, if a woman wants to cause her husband to be happy with her, well, she has to allow him, make him her hero. Right? What I mean by that, a guy wants to save the damsel in distress. That's why guys, we relate to movies where the man saves the day and saves his women. All right, his woman. All right, we love that kind of stuff. All right, and we put ourselves in those shoes. We rescue the damsel in distress. Well, be your husband's damsel, not necessarily in distress, but somebody he can rescue or pull up or help or whatever the case may be. Make him your hero. He'll love that. He'll want to help you wash the dishes. If you make him your hero by, if he thinks that washing the dishes is going to make you his hero, he's going to wash the dishes. All right? You see what I'm saying? Okay. All right. Respect him. Now, here's the thing. Many times I've heard women talk about their husband, of course, behind their back, in public to other people. And that you should never, ever do. If there's a problem in the marriage, work it out. But you don't badmouth your spouse, your husband. Wives, you should not be bad-mouthing your husband. And husbands, of course, you should not be bad-mouthing your wife in public. All right? You should badmouth her to her anyway. So you have to respect your husband. If a man thinks you don't respect him, all hell's going to break loose. If a man believes in his heart that his wife doesn't respect him, and he's going to get to that conclusion from the things that you do, all right, that's going to cause him to do certain things. It's going to cause him to operate a certain way with regards to the relationship. One thing that we will do is pull away from it. I don't care, you're my wife, or that's cool. That had nothing to do with it. If you don't respect me, well, hey, get away. All right, I don't want to be bothered with that. Show interest into what he does. Show interest. Now, I'm not saying you have to do it, but show interest at least in what he does. And maybe some things you might want to try to do with him, just so that you can have some together times. If he likes to work out, maybe work out with him. Even if it's just during the warm-ups. I like to lift weights. I don't expect Carla to lift weights. I think she tried it one time in the duration of our marriage. Actually, I think she did try it when we were going to a gym so many years ago, but that wasn't home. That wasn't with me. But anyway, some interest, he would appreciate that. And it'd be nice. Now, you got to be careful, because sometimes a guy does, I'll do things because I just like doing it, and I may not want a partner. It might be something that I do just to get away and have some alone time. Maybe I like to go out and just sit on the bench and bird watch or whatever the case may be. And I don't want my wife, I don't want Carla to come in and disturb that alone time. But I might not mind if every now and then she wants to sit with me and talk or whatever the case may be. Get interested. Show some interest in what he does, what your husband does. All right, here's one that you probably know, but you don't know. Have sex often. The worst thing you can do, wives, in a marriage is to withhold sex from your husband. That is that's probably the worst thing you can do. All right. Besides not making him your hero. Believe it or not, that is extremely important. All right. But if you withhold sex, or you try to use sex as some type of leverage, you're making a big mistake. You may not realize it now, but as time goes on and the years pass, all that stuff's going to add up, and it's all getting calculated in his head, and it's going to culminate into some action that you may not like. All right? To a guy, sex is very important, and it's not just for the act of sex. It is just for what it means to a man. It means, it's like a carrier signal. My wife wants, especially if you initiate it, that she loves you. Because if you don't have sex with your husband, he's going to think you don't love him. Period. All right? No sex, no love. Period to a guy. Unless there's some medical condition. And even then, even if there's some medical or a physical condition or whatever the case may be, even then, there are ways or things that you can do to compensate. As long as you're doing something in the intimacy area. And if you withhold that, you're asking for trouble. All right? So, because sex is in a marriage is very, very, very important to a guy. All right? Wives, be strong. Don't be a doormat for your husband. Some guys will take advantage of that, but a lot of guys don't like it. We don't want to be situated with a person that we perceive as weak. All right, that's really bad. All right, you want to be strong. If you don't like something your husband does, tell him respectfully, but assertively, or with strength. You know, not, well, I don't like when you know what I'm saying. All right, so you have to be strong. Stand up to him. All right, if you don't like something, you want to give an opinion or input, do it. He'll appreciate it. Or haven't you ever seen like a movie where the woman fights along with her man, or this woman beats this guy up, and the men in the room are like, "Oh, baby." They like strength. They like that strength in a woman. All right, as long as you don't try to usurp his manhood, you're cool. All right? All right. Of course, don't nag your husband. That's self-explanatory. Don't be nagging him. All right? In most cases, sometimes if he's really being stupid, you may want to kind of nag him. In other words, keep bringing a thing up, but you don't want to nag him and just keep badgering him about a particular issue. All right? Contribute to a fresh, stress-free, happy home. Keep your house clean, darn it. All right? Keep neat. Don't pile stuff up and make a mess. Now, I know some of you ladies are going to say, well, I work and I go to work. Okay, so what? My mom worked. All my life growing up in my house, in my parents' house, my mom worked. And I'm going to tell you something. The house was always neat. Now, she would say that she needs to clean it, but I'm looking at it, okay, maybe there's a pad on the table or something. But my mom always had our house. Well, we had to contribute. All right, we had to take out the trash, wash the dishes. My father cleaned. My mom, our house was always, it wasn't messy. All right, so there's no excuse. You just have to make it a priority. Keep the house clean. And that doesn't mean, now what I'm not saying is that it's the wife's responsibility to keep the house clean. No, everybody who lives in the house is their responsibility to do something. All right, but you do your part to keep the house clean. All right, we understand women work, and maybe he gets home first. But if you get home first, don't just leave stuff all over the place. Clean up after yourself. My mom, what she would say is she used something, she would put it away. Like if she's cooking, she would use something, use it, and then put it back. That way you don't have to worry about it, okay? But anyway, just keep a neat house. Cook for him or with him. All right? Stereotypically, it's assumed that the woman is the cook. But some women don't know how to cook. And the guy cooks. Okay, so if you do cook, wives, then cook for him. Cook his favorite meals. Don't give him tofu, or whatever that stuff is called, if he wants steak. Okay? You can tell him about health benefits until you're blue in the face. You have to do it in a way that he'll be able to take it. But cook for him. Cook his favorite meals. Fix his favorite meals, his favorite desserts. And if it's a guy, and if he does the cooking, well, get interested. Maybe cook with him or help with him. Let you learn. Okay. In my household growing up, my mom taught us how to cook. My father also said that a guy should know how to cook the meals that he likes to eat. So whatever I like to eat, regularly my favorite foods, I know how to cook it. Whether it's steak, breakfast, I could do breakfast or whatever. All right? Okay? All right. Take care of yourself. Don't walk around looking like a bag lady. All right? Wear nice clothes. Now, I'm not saying you have to look like a model all the time. I'm just saying be nice looking. Guys are visual. We are stimulated by what we see. But if we see a hag, guess what? I'm going to avoid you. I don't want to look at you. And the problem with that is somebody else may look, you know what I'm saying? And you start getting distracted. So look, keep yourself, work out, keep a healthy body. Eat right and all that kind of stuff. Now, I'm not talking about if you're a big woman, you're a big woman. I'm not talking about be slim and, a size, I don't know what it is for women, a size 1 or whatever. If you're a size 1, you're a size 1. If you're size 20, you're size 20. If you need to get healthy, then get healthy. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying look nice. All right? Keep yourself up. Don't let yourself Don't wear baggy clothes or whatever. Don't wear ripped up stuff and flannel gowns to bed. Put on a lingerie. Put on something that's gonna make you look nice. All right. Work out. Be healthy. Take care of yourself. All right. Show your love for him. Show him that you love him. Now, in doing that, you're going to have to find out how he receives that. All right? Because you may say, well, I'll show him that I love him by cooking his favorite meals. All right? And he'll say, oh, this is great. She really knows how to cook. He may not perceive it that way. He may think of it as you're just cooking his favorite meal because, you want to make him happy or whatever. All right? So, but anyway, show him you love him from his perspective, which means you're going to have to communicate with him and find out, what he perceives as love and so forth and so on. And you can work that out together. Wives, prioritize the marriage relationship. Make it a priority. A lot of times I see the children become the priority. I've seen marriages where church became the priority. The wife or the husband was always in church, leaving their spouse at home. You can't do that. Your marriage has to be a priority. All right? Talk and listen to your husband. You want your husband to be happy with you? Talk to him. I enjoy the talks that Carla and I have when we talk about general stuff. Especially when we are like on vacation or when we are sitting on our deck and typically it's like in the fall because it's not too hot and whatnot, or in the spring, usually in the fall, and we're talking about life and our plans. I just feel a connection. I love that, So talk to him and listen to him too. Don't start blabbing and blabbing and blabbing and blabbing. Listen to him. Hear what he has to say, all right, and take him seriously. Engage him. We love that. We want our wives to be with us, all right? To me, togetherness is, I have this whole concept of togetherness in my head. To me, love is togetherness. You cannot have love if you do not have togetherness, all right? If you don't have togetherness, you don't have love, all right? You can have sex without togetherness, which makes sex just a physical act. But if you have togetherness, you're sharing passion. You're sharing your feelings towards each other, or at least he to you, and he's really connecting, all right, with togetherness, all right. Anyway, let him be the head of and be by. So let him be the head of the. Let him be your head, but be by his side. And I said, well, how can he be head and I be by his side? Well, the Bible talks about headship. Headship is not what a lot of people think. Or when we talk about a wife submitting to the husband, that's not talking about the wife making herself inferior. It's really just her putting herself under his headship. He's the guy that's going to put his neck out first. He's going to take the risk first. He's going to lead the family. Assuming that he is leading it from the perspective of direction from God and prayer and wisdom. All right, so she's going to put herself under that. But she's by his side because if she sees him doing something stupid, she's going to say something. Just because he's the head and he might pray and hear from God doesn't mean that he gets the message straight all the time. Sometimes he might just really want to do something so bad that he'll say God told him. Or he just wants to go that way anyway. But you can speak up because the two become one flesh. The two become one flesh. All right? So he's the head, but you're right by his side. All right? I'm gonna do a video on marriage, Christian marriage, and you'll see, and I'll be able to discuss that in more detail. All right? All right. Honor your husband. Talk favorably of him in the public, around family and friends, especially. Don't put him down like I had mentioned earlier. Lift him up. He's going to feel his chest will go out and he's going to cherish you. All right? But when you're just treating him like he's nothing, like, oh man, he can't budget the money, or he he don't even know how to fix a lawnmower or whatever the case may be. All right, then that's negative points. All right, that's like a withdrawal from the love bank. From the book that I highly recommend, His Needs, Her Needs. All right. Okay, so honor your husband. Actively pray for him. Now, I said actively. Now, of course, the Bible talks about going to your secret closet and praying, but I'm not talking about that. You're going to do that, of course, and he's going to do it for you. I'm talking about actively or dynamically, whatever you want to call it. In other words, if he's sick, you put your hands on him right then and you pray. You command sickness to go. Whatever you learned from the Bible, you do it then. You don't go off somewhere and do it. I mean, you want him to know he's gonna see you care. And that also means you have to really have the Word of God in you. Okay, you really have to have that in you. All right, to do that, I was really impressed one time. My sister-in-law, Joyce, we were at a table. I think it was Mother's Day or something like that, in a restaurant. And I forgot what was said, but right out of her mouth, it just came up, God this, God that, and, no, we don't have to accept that God. And I was looking at her, I was like staring. I was like, what? Because I'm not really used to people talking, throwing up the word like that, except for perhaps Reverend Waters. Hey, Reverend Waters, if you happen to be reading this or watching this, Reverend, you talk to Reverend Waters, the word of God just like a fountain. All right, so I was really impressed with that. So you do that with your husband. If he's having a bad day, or if he's down about something, or he's troubled, stressed, sick, do it right then. I pray for you in the name of Jesus that you be well, or encourage him. Oh, don't worry, honey. You can do this. So forth and so on. All right. So pray for him actively, as well as in secret. All right. All right. So that is just some of the points that I made in the article. The post on, the post. If you are on the website, but if this happens to be YouTube or something, or some other video venue, then go to myhopeatmarriage.com and you will see the blog post for how a wife can cause her husband to be happy with her. And this is what I'm discussing. Basically, a person can be happy with another person if you put the positives in their love bank, so to speak. All right. So you have a net positive and not negative. Okay. Really, that's really what you do. All right. So if a wife can do things that her husband will see favorably, then he'll become happy with her. He'll have good feelings towards her. He will have emotional love for her, infatuation for her, and all that kind of stuff. All right? And likewise, a husband is going to do that too. I'm going to have articles for that as well. But I'm talking about from the male's perspective because I'm a guy, so I can really talk about what makes a guy happy. All right? Now, of course, people will say, have sex. A wife should always have sex with her husband. Well, that is true. Right? Because without it, you cause a whole lot of problems. But what you might not realize is that there's a lot of women who are suffering from a sexless marriage. It's the husband who don't want to, quote, give it up. All right? So it's not just women. So, I've been married for over 30 years, and I've been studying and researching and reading, going through forums and participating in forums and so forth and so on. And it's interesting, the stereotypes that are broken many times. All right, so the bottom line is get to know your spouse. Get to know your spouse. What makes your spouse happy? Find out. The best source of that information is from your spouse. What makes your husband happy? What makes him tick? How does he see the world? Learn that, get to that, and then use it for him. Okay? Do that for him. All right? All right, well, this is Reggie. I pray that you have a wonderful day, a great day. And remember to eat, drink, and digest the Word of God and know God for yourself. All right? All right. And remember, pursue a happy marriage. If you're getting married, learn as much as you can. And I will encourage you to learn your spouse. Learn who he or she is. Talk to the person. Talk to the person. You know, sometimes we know our best friends better than we know our spouse. Now, we say, well, your spouse should be your best friend, but that's not always the case. Because sometimes a husband and wife are roommates or cellmates, not soulmates. All right? So you can be like a soulmate to your best friend because you know each other intimately. You know, you know each other intimately. So, you know, you grew up with a friend in the hood. You grew up with this guy. So this guy knows you like the back of his hand. He knows what you're going to say. And he knows you. He knows how you tick. Well, we should have that type of relationship with our spouse where we just know them. We know how they see the world and so forth and so on. And you use that to accommodate them or to bless them. I like that word, to bless them. All right? A wife, you can do things so that you can receive love and receive happiness from your husband. And of course, husbands likewise. All right, we'll talk about it in another article. All right, let me stop because I can talk about this forever. All right, this is a real passionate I have, the marriage relationship, because the marriage relationship is so important. Okay? All right, well, until next time, be blessed.